Good afternoon. Happy lunchtime. Happy New Year and all that kind of thing. It's great. I love this part. The first 20 seconds where Facebook's still trying to get the message out and I'm figuring out what I'm going to say. Even though I open the Green Umbrella Live Lunch in the same way every time, I always seem to have a bit of a blank, which is crazy. But here we are, the very first Green Umbrella Live Lunch of 2023. A lot of concentration went into saying that then. And we have our first guest of the year, the amazing Julie Fitzpatrick is joining us. So excited. So because it sort of happened over, like getting it organised with you coming on has happened over sort of Christmas and all that sort of stuff. I've not really explained to the guys how we know each other.
Oh.
So, or who you are, or what you do.
Indeed, very good question.
So before we begin, Jane, what do you think Julie does?
Well, I know she does a bit of NLP and hypnotherapy and things like that, and that you did used to work for corporate for 35 years or something, but now you've set up your own business. But I think you were doing it before as a part-time thing.
Yeah. I've been slow burning, yeah.
Cool. And Molly, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same as Jane. We were, I can't lie, doing a bit of stalking yesterday of LinkedIn and seeing what you're up to. And yes, hypnotherapy and all what Jane said, corporate, and then you've changed into this role. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about it.
Lovely. Well, I hope it is exciting. It's my life. So
Will be Kim. Kim, it looks like you're sat in the dark.
I was literally going to say that,
yeah. Shut the blinds or something. I just realised did she take herself off mute then? Did you hear what she said?
Yeah, we heard through you.
Oh, okay. Cool. Good job, I forgot to mute. Oh, there she is.
Was it better before? Okay. So same question to me. So I'm hoping that we're going to be on here and Julie, you're going to go 3, 2, 1, you're under. And then we're going to wake up and we're going to know our goals. We're going to know how to get them. And we're just going to smash 2023.
Do you know what?
That's my expectation.
Oh, yeah, it's a good idea though, right?
Either that or we'll be squawking like chickens.
Yeah.
Jane, don't tell her what we usually do.
So come on, Julie, give us the proper intro.
Okay, so I'm Julie Fitzpatrick, sometimes known as Smith, which is very, some of my social media is Smith, some Fitzpatrick. So Smith is my current married name, Fitzpatrick is my old married name, but I've been Fitzpatrick for such a long time. My whole career I've been Fitzpatrick, and I thought I need to run my business like that, but in retrospect I shouldn't have done because it's causing me grief now, but hey ho. So yes, I'm Julie Fitzpatrick. I'm the founder of Millieside Therapy and Coaching. And as you ladies rightly said, I'm a master in NLP coaching. I'm the hypnotherapist, and I'm also trained in what's called Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is quite new. The founder of that is a lady called Marissa Peer, who she's brilliant, and I would recommend following her because she just helped me make sense of the mind. She just helps you understand it. It's just, although everyone likes to think that everything's so complicated, in actual fact it isn't. And what she's done, being a therapist for over 35 years to quite famous people as well, she took all the best bits from all the therapies, all the modalities, NLP, CBT, psychodynamic, everything. And she watched her clients and she went, you know what? Those bits really make a difference. So what she's created, RTT, is not new in itself. She hasn't created these methodologies, but what she's done is pulled all the ones that have the most powerful results into one. And where it's different is it actually goes to the root cause of what's causing your issues and addresses the emotion that's associated to it. Now, I am actually a trained counsellor. I did that in another part of my life, which I'll tell you about later. But having found this now, it is really, really powerful. And it does what it says on the tin. It's rapid and it's transformational. And what you can do, you can do absolutely amazing things in one session. I mean, I'll tell you what a session involves in a minute, but you need maybe 2 or 3 sometimes when you've got more long-term issues that you want to resolve. But it is fantastic. It is, as I say, it's rapid and it's transformational. So I over the last 2 years, okay, so shall I backtrack a little bit, because that's just a little bit about what RTT is. But my story, I guess, when I was at school, I created a belief that I was average at best, probably a bit below average. In some subjects I was okay in, some subjects I was just god awful in, like maths. Hated maths, still hate maths. But I always remember this thing about people who are kind of, I'm in my 50s, so people of my age remember those WhatsApp. You had the little wall with a big nose thing that went over it. What's that? And it was, I always had this thing about, I don't want to be seen. I want to keep myself just below that level, because if I put myself above it, then people will see me as the phony that I am, and then they'll be able to push me off it, because it'll be, who does she think she is, you know, and all that kind of thing. So I always stayed, I did enough. I was good at school. I was quite boring, really. I never got in trouble. I never bunked off school. I never had a detention, much to my son's amusement. He goes, how can you go through life not having any of those? But I did, right?
So me and Kim don't know where to look right now.
But I was just nothingy, really. And it was really funny. About a year ago, my son went home to my parents' home, and for some reason they was clearing out a cupboard and they found my school reports and he brought them home. And you know, like when you think, well, maybe I kind of made that up. Maybe I wasn't like that. But oh my God, when I read them, I was going, look, they don't even know who I am. You know, when it was just like a standard, oh yeah, she's really good. And I could just tell they didn't even know who I was, which was mental, really. So I kind of confirmed that was the truth. And my passion at the time was, I wanted to be a nursery nurse. I wanted to look after kids. God knows why. The last thing I wanted to do was work in an office. So to get on this course at the time, they only took about 40 people, and you had to do exams and interviews and all that. And I got through to the last few, but I didn't quite make it. So my mum said, come on in, let's get you up to London, we'll get you a job. So this is back in 1985. So back then, you could walk into a job really easily. You didn't have to do any of this online stuff, and so literally, she took me up to London. We went to a job agency, and the woman in there went, oh, do you know what? There's a job across the road. There was a company called Gartmore across the road. She said, I'll ring them up. So she rings them, and they said, oh, she can come over now if she wants. There I am, like this 16-year-old, like, what's going on? I'm going for an interview. What's an interview? What's a job, you know? Anyway, I went across, and whatever I said worked. At the time, it was the job was advertised as what they called a VDU operator, which meant visual display unit, because we didn't have computers back then.
Molly, do you know what one of those is?
No.
It was basically a screen that had a few words on it, and that was about it.
Wow.
And this is blow your mind, Molly. At school, we didn't have computers either, right? We had typewriters. And in our typewriting group, there was a couple of electric ones. And we used to fight over who got the electric typewriter. That's how tech it was back then. No phones, no emails, nothing.
I can't imagine it.
I know. So there I was up in London, and they went, you've got the job. And I'm like, okay. So we went home, and I don't know how quickly I started, a week or so later, I think, because it wouldn't have been all the red tape doing all the checks they have to do nowadays. They used to take anyone then. So there I was, 16-year-old girl, getting up in the morning, getting on the train, going into London. And that's where my life in the corporate world started. I went to a comprehensive school. I'm an Essex girl. I went to a comprehensive school. It was not posh at all. But no, I mean, to have two electric typewriters was a big thing. You know, it was so important. So there I was up in London, and that was it. And at that point, I then met my first husband. Obviously, I wasn't married to him at the time because that would be wrong. But we were together a long time before we got married. And I was in that corporate job for about 5 years. And then we decided that we was going to go travelling. And actually, when you think about it, I'm only 20. I think I was 20, 21 at the time. That's quite a big thing to do, isn't it? I'd given myself
big, scary thing. Really scary. Like, don't even think about it, Molly. It's not worth it.
Molly, it was the best thing I ever did.
Right, where's the exit button?
It is covered.
And it, like, you know, when you look back at stuff and you think, how could I have had that belief really? When at 16, I'm going up on the train on my own, and you know, I was going out, I was with some really good people, and then all of a sudden I'm going, nah, not going to do that anymore. Let's go travelling. And we spent a year out in Australia, and then we come back and went to America, just the two of us. I mean, that's quite a big thing to do, but I still never really took that on board. It was just something that I did, and not many of the people I knew around me were doing it. They were all getting married and having houses, and they bought houses just when the interest rate was about 18%. And I didn't. I went travelling, and by the time I came back, it had all started coming back down. So eventually, we settled down. We went. I thought, well, I'm going to have to go back up to London then, well, to that corporate world, because that's all I know. And I was skint, and I needed some money. So we both went back to work. We ended up buying a house, and then in 94 we got married, and then in 1999 I had my son Josh, and then that's when things started to change a lot for us, because anyone that has got children, you know that they do change your life. Not always in a bad way, obviously, in a really good way, but we made a pact that because I earned more money, I would go back to work, and my husband would, well, my son's dad would give up his job. So that's what we did, and we thought we were really smart. We thought that was a really good thing to do because, you know, we were still looking after our son and everything, but it did cause a lot of issues because for one, I felt like a complete useless mum because I didn't even know what my son's routine was. I used to have to ask, how much milk do I need to give him? When do I give it to him? And, you know, and that's not good. And bless his heart, he never slept back then either. So I was going to work on no sleep. And then my then husband, he was very isolated because back in 1999, and I wouldn't say it's particularly common now, being a stay-at-home dad, he was isolated because he was excluded from the groups that the women create. You know, like he used to try and take him swimming and to these little play day things and stuff like that. But when the mums were going around giving out birthday invites and stuff, he just didn't get one because it just wasn't the done thing. And then over time, we just grew apart. And then when Josh was about 7 or 8, we had to make the decision that we weren't going to be together anymore. But that made me feel like a complete failure yet again, because you feel like the only job you've got is to be together and bring your children up. But that can be toxic sometimes, can't it? And that's not always the right thing to do. And I'll never forget when we told him, we like broke his heart, and it was like, makes me feel sad when I think about it now, and he's 23. But so that was kind of another era in my life. So by this time, I'm 38, 39. I'm still working in the corporate world. I'm not really loving it, but I'm caught in it now because now I've split up with my husband. Due to the difference in the wages and stuff, I had to end up buying him out. So I've now increased doubled my mortgage. Now I'm a single mum working in the corporate world in a job that she didn't really like very much. I loved being around the people, and I built a great friendship group, and I've still got lots of those friends now, but I still never felt I really found my purpose and passion, and I still didn't really feel confident that I was doing a good job. I certainly didn't think I was doing a good job at home and okay at work, but I can remember being visible back then was even an issue, because I can remember having an appraisal, and I had a really good work appraisal, and I said, why am I not getting the pay rises that other people are getting? And I can remember it as clear as day. He said, well, because you don't shout about what you do. And I was, well, what do you mean? He said, well, so-and-so and so-and-so, they go and tell everybody how great that. So at that point, I'm a project manager, and I'm going, so being successful in your projects, delivering them on time, in budget, and building great relationships, well, that's still not good enough. No, because no one knows who you are. And I've only recently been twigging this, and it's because I've been writing a chapter for a book, and I'm like, oh my God, I hadn't really twigged all that. So I'm still got this belief. So now I'm 40, I've still got this belief that I shouldn't be seen. Just get on with it, get your head down, just do what you need to do, and everything will be fine. But it turns out, it's still not good enough. But I didn't learn anything from that, really. I was just like, oh, okay. So then, moving on slightly, I thought, do you know what? Now's the time for me to find a new relationship. And I didn't really
look at her smiling. Look at that.
I was just thinking, right, because the last thing I wanted to do was to go on a dating app. And my friends went, no, it would be really good. And at the time, there was a dating app called My Single Best Friend, something like that. And basically, your friends wrote your profile. It was Sarah Beanie. She does all the property ladders and stuff. I don't know if it's still going. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I don't mind that, because I'm not the one that's going to have to go, oh, hi, I'm Julie. I'm amazing. I'm gorgeous and all of that, like they do with those things. Because, I couldn't do that, because that would just, but obviously that visibility thing, well, why would I do that? So my friends did it, and of course they wrote the most amazing profile for me. And then there comes Andy Smith, my now current husband. So we met on that dating agency. So I met him in the September. We met on the phone. We spoke on the phone a few times, and then we met at this pub in Essex. To the point that we had such a lovely time. The staff were going, "Excuse me, can you go, because we need to close." So it was. I know this is going to make you all cringe, but it was love at first sight, and I didn't believe in any of that before, but it was. He's amazing guy. So in walks Andy into my life, and then he's a youth worker. And we used to sit, I'm new relationship anyway, so I'm like this. We used to sit over the dinner table, and used to say all the wonderful stuff he'd done with the kids, and he'd been doing this and doing that. And he'd go, oh, how was your day? And he'd be like, chase a few people for some jobs. Wrote some in, And I thought, oh my God, I want some of that. And I used to always refer to it as a do-gooding job. I always did that, do-gooding job, right? So I was like, oh, I'd love to do something like that. But you know what, as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. So I goes into work a few weeks later, and they go, look, we need to make some redundancies. Does anyone want to go? And I went, yeah, I'll do it. Because I've been there 14 years. I checked out my package. And if I was careful, I knew I was going to be okay for about a year. So I thought, what could possibly go wrong? I'm in a new relationship. I'm going to go and find a do-gooding job, and I'm going to find my personal passion and live happily ever after. So I took my money and I went. In the November, I was 40. So I thought, this is a good time. This is end of an era, start of a new one, new decade. And then that was in 2008. And then for those of you who remember, there was a few weeks later after that, there was a humongous stock market crash, and the world just fell in. It was massive. It was huge. But that was okay, because I wasn't going back to corporate world anyway, was I? So that didn't really bother me. So then I started looking at do-gooding jobs, and then they were going, no, sorry, you don't have any do-gooding experience. So no one wanted me. So I'm like, okay. Oh, well, I suppose I'll have to go back to the corporate world. And then it was like, well, they're right. I couldn't get a job. And I'll tell you what was really upsetting at the time, because I didn't have a degree, because I went to work, the University of Life degree I've got. And they was actually advertising jobs specifically saying, do not apply if you don't have a degree. And those jobs I could have done standing on my head. So you can imagine at this point, I'm like, my confidence levels is like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't get those jobs because I don't have a degree. There's just nothing out there. And then I would never actively say that I've really suffered from mental health, but at this point, this was my first big crash, really. And I didn't go to the doctors or anything at the time, because people like me just don't go to doctors, because we don't suffer from mental health, because we just help everybody else. But I can only describe, I went into like I spiraled into like a depression, mini breakdown, and I just couldn't stop crying, because I'd gone from, I had a job, I had a purpose. All right, it might not be my passion, but I had a purpose. I had a routine with my son. I used to go to work, but I always used to say, oh, I wish I could spend more time with him. And there I was, I did have that time with him, but I would get up, take him to school. I don't know anyone at the school, and anyone that's a mum who's got kids, you know that they have their little niches and their little groups. And there I was, no one really knew. A couple of people knew me from when I was taking football, but other than that, I didn't really know anyone, so I felt really isolated. So now I've like lost my identity completely. Who am I? I don't have a job. I'm no good at doing this mumsy lark, because I've never really done it that much. And now I'm like, I can't stop crying, and I'm this blithering wreck. And then there I am in this relationship with this new guy who he met me, no longer than 2 months prior. He met this woman who was in the working, you know, she's come across as confident and stuff like that. And now he's coming around to visit me, and I'm like, I thought you were coming out, you know. I was awful. And then I started to self-sabotage, because then I'm like, well, what's he doing with me then? He can't possibly love me, and all this kind of stuff. And I did my best to push him away, God love him, but he didn't go.
Not a listener, no.
Thankfully, he saw something in me that I was able then to borrow back his belief, because he was like, no, I'm not having this. You know, you can do this. And he started helping me rebuild my confidence. And then I got a job. I volunteered at a local hospice in their fundraising team, and I had a ball with them. The girls and boys who worked there were really lovely. But I never forget, they went, Julie, there's a job come up. You must apply for it. You've got it. It's a no-brainer. And I asked them how much it was, and I can't remember how much it was, but at the time I went, I'm so sorry, girls. I said, that won't even pay my mortgage. I just couldn't. So now I'm like doing a job that I love. I can't do it because I'm now caught up in the financial world that I've got a family to support, and that's my job. That's always been my job, being the main breadwinner. So unfortunately, I couldn't take that. But then at that point, I'd signed up to start my counselling course. And at the time, it was like, well, it's going to take 4 years to do this. I thought, well, I haven't got the time or the money to wait around for that, so I'm going to have to go back to work. So then I spent a lot of time job hunting, and my confidence levels by this time was pretty poor. I didn't believe in myself at all. I still felt like I didn't really know who I was anymore. And I was going for interviews and I wasn't getting them. And then one day I got invited to this interview, and it was for a guy that I used to work with at one of my previous jobs. Never worked for, but he was in the Edinburgh office and I was in the London office. And we just worked together on some projects. And when I saw his name on there, I thought, oh, okay. So I trots up to London for this interview, and he met me in reception. His name's Ian Bell. Really, I'm going to call him out because he saved me, really. And he took me up to the interview room, and he was introducing me to people. And I thought, that's a bit weird. So we got into the room, and he went, oh, Julie, the job's yours. How's so-and-so getting on? He didn't even interview me, and it was like, oh, my God, I've just been through hell for the last, well, by this time, it's like nearly a year, and been rejected and not had the confidence to do anything. And there's this guy who didn't even want to interview me. He just gave me the job. He already knew he was going to give me the job before I even turned up. It was more like a little reunion, really. And then the job that he offered me was a contract. And a really good contract. It was normally when people start out contracting, it's on a low rate, but mine was like right up there. And I was like, bloody hell, I've hit gold here. So I've gone home like super excited. So I started the job, and it was all right. It was okay. It's still, you know, it was what it is, isn't it? It's but I met some more new people. But the contracts in the contract world, they're normally for like 6 months at a time. And then when it comes to about 5 months, you start going, I wonder if I'm going to get a renewal. And then, like, I used to drive Andy nuts. He was like, for God's sake. Anyway, I got the first renewal, and I'm like, bloody hell. Because I thought they were just going to call me in the office and go, well, you know, Julie, we've seen you. You're a bit of a phony. You're not any good at what you do. So we're going to let you go. But they didn't. They kept me. And I was like, bloody hell. And then this went on for 18 months. And then normally after that, but anyway, I spent the next 10 years contracting. I was never out of work at that point. So I'm not thinking, well, surely now I should be thinking that I'm okay and I can actually do this, but not really. I still never really believed it.
So if we sort of bring it forward to today, because I know you've literally just stepped away from the corporate world, haven't you, to sort of do what you're doing full time. So how do you go from not having that, like not registering, not having that belief, to, because we all do it, these guys take the piss out me all the time, because we go in and we're doing stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, but it's only this, or yeah, it's only that, and you don't recognize it yourself. I had someone talk to me a couple of days ago, and you know, Happy New Year, and they were like, you know, you need to realize everything you've achieved in the last 12 months, and I'm like, okay. It's like Jane is a great one for this. Like, when I tell people about Jane, I always say Jane's the sort of person that says, like, at night when she's snoring, she says sorry in between. You know, I do. So it's like, so how do you get from that place where you actually have that the self-confidence, like, honestly, I'm going to pick on the other two as well. Like Kim, when she first did before you did your first live lunch, you were like, not me, or you wouldn't want me to do it. I'll be an embarrassment. And I remember you calling me on the day in the morning going like, right, well, is there anything I'm not allowed to do or say, or like asking for permission? And do you know what I mean? And it's like, and smashed it. But then the next time it was kind of, you went back to that base point again, because you still didn't have that self-belief. Molly, you were terrified of doing live lunch, weren't you?
Yeah.
We used to talk about doing, and she'd like look at the colour go from her face. Like, and then it's like, you know, but so we never, and I don't think it's even a male-female thing. I think everyone has this, and it's, people talk about imposter syndrome, but I don't think it's that either.
The simple answer to that is you have to invest in yourself to find out. So fast forward to a couple of years ago, I was then in a permanent job that in the middle of the pandemic, I was thrown that lovely curveball where it was like, I'm out of work now. What am I going to do? And I've got this counselling background that I only ever did as a volunteer. I never did it as, in any form of paid role. But I obviously learned a lot from that. But I hadn't really done massive amount of work on myself at that point. You do a little bit when you're going through those training courses. And one of the things I actually did was counselling, because they make you go through that when you're training. And that's when I kind of blurted out. And that's when I realised I was having a bit of a mental breakdown. But it was only there at that point. But what happened 2 years ago, so I'm now unemployed, September 2020, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And our lovely friend Christina, Jennifer Roblin, who I actually met in the corporate world, and we stayed friends. She had obviously done the same thing. She'd left the corporate world and then went into becoming her anxiety management coaching. So she said, well, why don't you do that? And I went, well, what am I going to do then? How do I do that? I don't know. So that's when she said, well, the first thing I did was trained in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. So as we were on the phone, I Googled it, and there's one starting conveniently in September. So that was all good. So through that, I started, when you're learning that stuff, you go through, you practice it on each other, and you start to uncover your beliefs. And then during that time, I went on to do my master's as well, Master NLP. And I had a huge breakthrough when I was doing that, because one of the processes we were doing was uncovering those beliefs. And that's when I realised that I'd had that belief since at least when I was at school, probably like in senior school, but probably before that I'd created this belief when I was a child that I wasn't good enough, basically. And therefore I should just keep myself under the radar. So through doing that, invested in my self-development, I uncovered that and I eradicated it. So with the Rapid Transformational Therapy, again, when you're doing that, you have to do it on each other, and you go through and you have to come up with examples. Through the NLP and the RTT, I identified my limiting beliefs and I eradicated them. So literally, I do not have it anymore. So last night, I was on a course with some of the trainings that I've been doing, and we were doing about goal setting. And one of the things is, well, what's stopping you from doing this? And I went, nothing. Well, what blocks have you got? And I went, none really. Because you just don't have, I mean, sure, I'm going to have the practical things about, well, how am I going to actually physically do something? Or how do I get my brand out there? You know, and all that good stuff. But what I did was, during that 2-year period, I invested in my personal development, and I took on coaches and mentors and joined different groups like the Queens in Business Club and big business events that I'm part of as well. And it's about having that community around you, having those people that you can bounce off of, because being an entrepreneur, as you know, can be quite a lonely world. So, yeah, the simple answer is you have to invest in your own personal development.
Cool.
I guess is the answer.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up goals, because like that's one of the reasons we sort of thought it'd be good to sort of have you on, because I know you do some work around that as well. So obviously, like with it being the first week back in the new year, so guys, if you we haven't talked about this in the office really, because we kind of came back in on Tuesday and just like got straight. I think we were all so glad to just be back in a routine. So it's like, Happy New Year. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year? Emails, right? So Jane, Kim, Molly, have you actually set any goals for this year?
No.
Molly, what about you?
I've set a few little drink more water, read more books, just the general ones that I am hoping are achievable, rather than the big, extravagant, transform my life ones. Just the little day-to-day habits that I'm hoping I can tick off. Nothing major.
So you're right. So this is my thing about goals, okay? Because you're not saying that with a lot of certainty, like drink more water.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe I can, perhaps.
Well, it's very easy to measure if I've drunk more water, because an extra sip counts.
So what would stop you? Why those goals?
Because I think they're achievable, which is probably very naughty, because it's very easy to tick them off on my daily habits. Done. And I like the sense of achievement of, yep, accomplished it. I don't like the tiptoeing.
But if you're saying you want to drink more water, you have to be more specific, don't you? So what do you drink currently? To what do you want to? What's your achievement? So how are you going to know? How's it going to be measurable? So you have to be a bit more specific, don't you? I currently drink, I don't know, 1 litre a day. I want to drink 3 litres a day, and I'm going to do that every day for the next 3 weeks or something. You know, you have to
measure. That definitely makes sense. Yeah.
And you also have to listen to the language you use, right? And by the language, I don't mean like you swearing or anything like that. It's the positivity in your, you know, it's like, because the basic rules of the mind, right? Your mind will listen to anything you tell it. Okay, so tell it something positive, but it doesn't really understand. It won't go, oh, I wonder how much he wants to drink. So you have to tell it, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is when I'm going to do it, and this is what I want to achieve at the end of it. And even like when you said about books, which books? How many books?
Yeah.
How many books a day? How many books a week? How many books a month?
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. Yeah.
And
I've never really thought about it as that, like making it measurable, because in my head, drink more water. I mean, I could have a glass one day and 2 glasses the next day, which is more, but it's not necessarily enough. And then how do I measure it moving forward? So yeah, maybe I'll have to revisit my notebook.
I think there's also the thing about timescales, because we set these goals for a year and then we kind of like go off piste. Whereas actually, like if we say, right, for the next 4 weeks or the next 90 days, and then you can review and go again.
Definitely.
You know, because to commit to something for a year, that's a long commitment.
It is. And sometimes that can be when the overwhelm comes in as well, doesn't it? If you go like, I don't know, say take me then as a starting off my business, right? Okay, I could say this time next year I want to turn over £500,000. Well, okay, maybe I will, but is that realistic? Probably not. Am I going to be really gutted if I don't get that? Yeah. So maybe I need to make a bit more of a realistic one. But then to do that, I break it down. I maybe break it down into where do I want to be in 6 months' time? And then I break it down to where do I want to be in 3 months' time, in a month. And then you can break it down into the week then if you want, or in some instances of a goal, you can then break it down into a daily goal, depending on what it is. So it's about having that end goal. So like, for example, why do you want to drink more water? What would be your reasons for wanting to drink more water?
Skin, hair, health. I don't know. The general hydration, just the perks that come with it.
Because everyone tells you should drink more water,
right? Mum's always on at me.
That all ties in though to looking after yourself and your basic self-care. So what I've found with all my clients, whether they are women in the prime of their lives or whether they're youngsters or teenagers, I've got different demographic of ages, but it's about what I have my become unstoppable, right? So what does becoming unstoppable mean to you? The main thing around it is it's understanding who you are and what you're going on in here, right? You need to understand, like, what are you lacking in confidence, self-belief and all that good stuff. If you feel that you are, then invest in yourself and get some assistance to help you unblock that. Because once you unblock it, there's no stopping you. You literally do become unstoppable, right? I don't say no to anything right now. I'm saying, I mean, I think I come on one of your trainings, didn't I, Christine? And someone said, do you want? Yeah, sure. And it's about the old me would never have done that. The old me, I mean, social media, oh my God, no way. But now I'm like this different, I don't even know who I am half the time. But I love it because I sit and watch people and they go, oh no, I can't do that. And I go, do you want it? I go, yeah, I don't mind. I'll do it. And obviously within reason, you can't say yes to everything.
Everyone's got their levels.
But I just don't get it. I just don't have that feeling anymore. And it's so amazing. It's so, I don't know, it's brilliant.
So I think I project that I'm like up for anything. Yeah, let's go, let's do it. But
let me just unmute myself.
Quick. I'll just say Kim would tell a different story, and then I meant to mute. But so Kim, tell us, like, so have you got a goal?
I've got a couple, actually. One, and exactly what you've said, Julie, about splitting it down. Obviously, new year, new me syndrome is all around. So I'm like, right, I need to get moving more, but like, what does that look like? So I've broken it down. Literally, I'm not even thinking, but this weekend I will think about next week. So it's like this week I'm going to go to the gym at least 3 times minimum. I am going to do that. But then also I'm starting a podcast, and somebody is really irritating me with, right, well, how many are you going to do? But what does that look like? When are you going to do them? And honestly, she's really starting to get on my nerves. Oh, sorry, Christina, you're muted, but you can still hear. Sorry. But yeah, so I'm literally, I'm because before, and you know, I'm not saying it won't happen again. I am saying that, Julie. I'm saying that that I have all these good ideas and my mind's like, and then it just goes, like my self-discipline was always a bit rubbish. So I'm literally just, 3 times a week I'm going to go to the gym, and I am going to launch a podcast, and I am going to release 1 episode a week. So and I've got all these like actual plans this time, and it feels a little bit different because it doesn't feel overwhelming, because I am literally just sort of looking at this bit rather than the whole bit. So
and that's great to do that, because that's avoiding the overwhelm, but you do still need to have like a bit of a long-term goal. So you want to go to the gym for what reason do you want to go to the gym? What do you expect to get out of it? What do you want? So in a year's time, what does Kim look like? What's she doing?
Kim is going to be an absolute weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, I am now. I'm going to be unstoppable. No, just, do you know what it is? It's mainly, it's not even a vanity thing. It's, I want to be able to do more stuff with my son, but do it with confidence. You know, like when we go to soft play centres and things like that, he's like, Mum, come up here. And I'm like, you've got those zigzaggy step things. I'm like, I will get wedged. But not even some, there is a little bit of that. I'll probably end up in the local newspaper, but just actively playing with him in that setting, but for an extended period of time, not just doing that and then, I've got to go and sit back down. Do you know what I mean? Just, and I think because
you want more energy, be more agile. Yeah. And if you had those, what would that give you?
It would just give me it just made me feel better about myself, but also I think because I've reached the ripe old age of, I'm old according to Molly, 35. It's like I've got
I never said you were old.
You never know.
I think I'm a dinosaur then.
No, it's just
that's Nicole always calling us all old.
Yeah,
that's not Molly, that's Nicole.
That's true. It's when we mentioned the floppy disk, Molly's like, the what? Anyway, but it's just more like, I'm 35, I've got a little boy. It's not just about me anymore. I've got to be healthy and I've got to be there for him so I can show up as the best. I'm going to do your do-goody thing, the best version. So it's just, rather than being stuck in a rut of going, this is how life is, it's a bit boring, it's a bit depressing, it's a bit, well, actually, what am I doing to make it better?
Yeah. Because I think we get stuck in our heads, don't we? And then you can, it's okay to be stuck for a little while, but you can't like go a whole year, can you, and go, I haven't moved forward, because it is definitely about pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, but it's also about knowing what you really want to do. So I think what you're saying is it's about being fitter, it's about losing weight then, because you will feel happier, you will feel healthier, and then that'll open up the doors, more freedom for you to do more things, and then a happier life. So that's what you have. That's how you want to be thinking about how you want to set your goals. What's the real outcome? So if this pen was a magic wand, what would your life be like if you had all that? You'd lost your weight. What would you be doing?
I would be overtaking Stephen Bartlett on the Spotify podcast list while sitting in the Maldives with abs. You've got to aim it. What are you laughing for, Jane? No.
So rude, isn't it? So rude, Kim.
Do you know, is next week I'll be in the office going, does anybody want a cake? No. No. Just being successful, like, it's the whole sort of the self-belief thing, walking that I am doing that, and not thinking about, like the thing with not ringing Christina going, what can I say, what can't I say, because I already know, I believe in, just kind of going, like you said, shouting about yourself and going, do you know what, I'm actually all right. And if you don't think so, that's fine.
Yeah, and I think it's very much, especially this time of year, is a good time to look back as well, isn't it? To go, what have I achieved in the last year? Because sometimes it's easy to just go, nothing. But when you actually think about it and go back, go through your photo albums on your phone, because that's the best way of remembering what you did, right? And then you go, oh yeah, I did that. I mean, obviously Christina can say that she won Female Entrepreneur of the Year. I won Best Supporter. I've run on a wall before. But it's about going back and revisiting what you have done and praising yourself. That's the biggest thing. Giving
Yeah.
yourself praise, because we don't do enough of that. And that when you praise yourself, right, that sends all happy endorphins and dopamine all through your body, which is, makes you happy. So just by doing something simple like every day, just being grateful, well, hopefully we should all get in the habit really of meditating, but being at least spending 10 minutes a day only, that's all you need to do really, of being present and tell yourself 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things that you're proud of yourself for doing, and just create your own affirmations about how wonderful you are, and just say those to yourself every single day, because your mind will learn by repetition, and then all of a sudden you suddenly go, "Do you know what, I'm pretty awesome." And
I think like, not a turning point, but like a highlight and a moment for myself was when we attended Expert Empires last year, and there was Paul Moore, which I absolutely love and adore now. Like, I cannot stop listening to his podcasts. Like, I proper fangirl him. It's embarrassing. I've even got a little badge on Facebook that says like top fan, and he's got this podcast called Become F with the bit like yours, but just not as polite. And it is literally all about like, I'm going to do this, like none of the BS excuses, like crack on with it. So that, and along with Susie, with the whole, be grateful, be more present, Susie Ashworth. So yeah, that was kind of a moment for me that I was just like, actually, I could quite possibly do something with myself that's of value.
And another good tip, actually, when you want to do your goals is, it's all very well writing them down and looking at them every day, right, and putting your plans in place for them. But you have to feel them. It has to be something that really resonates throughout your whole body. So by doing what we were talking to you, Kim, about, or if you did go to the gym every day or whatever you want to do, and and this is what it would give you, and then you would give this, and then you want to just take some time out to actually just visualize that. Because if you visualize that every day of what it's going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to have this beautiful, you're beautiful now, but what you also saying that you want to, improve on your health and your, activity, but visualize yourself in that new world of yours, and visualize yourself doing these things that you always wanted to do, and running around with your son and going on that climbing frame in a kiddie thing, and like you say, not getting stuck in it, and the other mums going, "Oh my God, look at her, she's amazing." And
they do that now, but
visualize that, but you have to feel it, and that's why I think a lot of people fail in their goals. They don't really feel them. A bit like we were saying, Molly, with the water thing. It's like really wanting it.
Do you think that also relates to business as well with your goals?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
do you know there's a real thing with being connected to your goals? So it's a personal, professional, business, whatever it is. If you haven't got that connection with the end goal, you don't want it enough.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And that's why a lot of things don't work, isn't it? Business, ours means 3 months, 6 months. Obviously, this is my week 1, really, of being in my business like full time, which I'm really super excited about. So much so, yesterday I went for a facial and I thought, well, that's a bit naughty. And I thought, no, it's not, because before I wouldn't have had time to do that during the day. But that's all part of my well-being, right? And also, it's my friend, so it's good to have a chat. But so for me, I'm like, well, I'm not really on day 1, because I've been doing this for 2 years, but day 1 of being all in on my business. So I'm spending this few weeks really trying to think about my approach and my social media, which I guess we ought to talk about, given this is what you normally talk about on here, isn't it? But like planning what my strategy is going to be for the next couple of months. And one of those things is, I've got my own webinar, Become Unstoppable. At the moment, it's Become Unstoppable in the Prime of Your Life. And I've got to get clients into that, because if I don't get clients into that, how am I going to build my business? So that's my huge, I've got quite a lot of goals in terms of, I need to get quite a few clients, and I need to start building up my bank account. So that's my main goal at the moment. But it's also a new thing for me to actually be just doing this and not being in the corporate world as well, and being like using their calendar to just get what I could do, you know, when I wasn't working for them. But to actually be able to manage my own calendar now and put things in and actually try and, you know, doing things like this as well, this is all part of it, isn't it? It's something that's really good fun to do, but it's also part of building my brand and building my visibility. And to do stuff like that is just amazing. So my goal really is to, for the next 3 to 6 months, is just to really, really build my brand, build my client base, but more importantly, transform people's lives, because that's what I love doing. I mean, even this Tuesday, for some reason, I seem to be attracting children, which is not something that I really set out to do. And I've done a fear of flying for an 8-year-old. And yesterday I did a young lady who, 8-year-old, who couldn't stop washing her hands. It's obviously like a knock-on from COVID. But her mum messaged me last night. She went, "Oh my God, she's just not doing it. Oh my God, you've changed our lives." And, you know, and that was in like a few hours. And it's like, well, if I can do that more and more and more, how many other people's lives can I change? And what would my life have been like if I could have known this back then? And I know you don't want to, I don't regret my past, because that's made me who I am. But if only I could have unravelled my limiting beliefs when I was younger and eradicated them, what could I have done?
It is phenomenal when you think about the impact, you know. So it's something as silly as that you know, the compulsive washing of hands, the impact that will have on that family, and to have that removed. It's the, you know, I mean, my kids are older now. Obviously, Jane, yours are sort of, you know, college. Well, I know your youngest is still at secondary school, but it's like, can you imagine with like them being at primary school age and having to deal with some of the stuff that if it had gone to that level of compulsion, to, you know, it's like I just can't even imagine having to deal with something like that. And yet kids now, there's so many issues, especially around anxiety. It's just absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like they basically said they've tried other things, and they said, "Oh, we're desperate." It's just, it really become a big, over Christmas, even the family noticed how bad she was, and it was just awful for them. And yeah, and it doesn't get much better than that, does it? I've got another client who, she's been doing live testimonials for me. I'm trying to do a bit more live. And when we did one the other week, I said, "Well, tell everybody, you know, why you work with me." And she just basically went, "I was at the end. I didn't want to be here anymore. And Julie saved my life." And I was like, "Oh my God!" But and then she said, "Well, you know," and that's how powerful it can be, because people are suffering out there of all ages. And I love the fact that what I do to become unstoppable, basically, you can do that at any age, right? I love when you can get to younger people. I've got an 18-year-old client who's been through trauma. She was raped, and, you know, she was at the point where she was on self-destruct. And I asked her, would you have killed yourself? She said, "I don't think I would have gone out to kill myself, but I probably would have killed myself because of the self-destruct mode that she was on, you know." And we've only done a couple of sessions, and she's, you know, and I just love it, because I love helping the younger ones, because they don't have to suffer all their life. Because I see that in the older people, and I love helping like the older generation as well, because it frees them up. But it's harder helping them because they've got more baggage. And what I've noticed as well is it's not only the mental health side of it, it's the physical conditions as well. Because if we don't release our feelings and emotions, our body holds it. So I've helped someone to walk again. I mean, she wasn't like as in paralysed, but she had to walk with a stick and she couldn't walk anymore. And sitting in the therapy room, she went, "Oh my God, I could move my toes." She couldn't do that before, because we'd released some stuff. Because our mind is just the most amazing thing, but it is a blessing and a curse, right? Because its main job is there to protect us, so it will do whatever it can. And if it wants to slow you down, so say like a good example would be like, "Oh my God, I will just die if I have to go and do that presentation. My world is going to end." So your brain's going to go, "I can't have that then." she's going to die if she does that presentation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give her the most horrific headache she's ever had in her life so she can't get out of bed. It's done its job, right?
Yeah.
And as we get older, we hold all that baggage, and then we get more ill. We're going to the doctors more, and we've got all these aches and pains. But actually, some of them can be released through clearing our emotions. I've done autoimmune diseases, skin conditions.
This is the thing. This is where some people, it's hearing that. I bet even some of these guys hearing that, they're going, yeah, is it though?
Yeah.
Because that's a bit of a, until you experience it, it's hard to really go, yeah, I get it. Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, you know, this is where things like RTT and NLP, this is where people kind of go, yeah, you know, even the hypnotherapy stuff, it's like they sort of question it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you mention hypnosis, like I think it was Jane when they go, oh, turn this into, that's what everyone does, because that's how it's been portrayed, isn't it? But all it is actually is just like a deep meditational state. And what it allows you to do is to talk to your subconscious brain rather than your conscious brain. And by doing that, because that's where all your gold is, that's where all your stories are, that's where all your belief systems are held. And that's what we want to go and find. And when you're, and I'm not knocking counselling, because as I said to you, I am a trained counsellor, but they do an amazing job. But sometimes you can't always, a lot of my clients I get go, well, I've done loads of counselling, it just didn't work. Because sometimes talking just isn't enough. They need to go to the root cause. And that's what the hypnotherapy and the RTT does. So you could have a root cause like, I'm not enough. I didn't have my needs met. I'm different. There's only about 5, right? But although you might have 20 symptoms, you might only have one core root belief, or 2 or 3. And when you get to that, you tick off that one, because they're all linked. Take something like relationships. Oh, I can't seem to hold down a decent relationship. I always attract the wrong type of relationships, etc., etc. Well, when I've regressed, within the RTT, we regress you back to a time when you couldn't have a relationship. And the ones that I've done historically have gone back. Most times it always goes back to ages of 0 and 7, because that's when we create our core belief system. And it'd be times when there was one incident of someone where, when I think she was 2, she wasn't very well. She went to get a hug from her dad, who was sitting on the sofa, and he pushed her away because I think he was watching football or something. And she was like, oh, so she created belief that she wasn't loved. And then you do that a couple of times, and then bang, that's your belief. And then you spend the whole time going through relationships that don't work, or attracting the wrong type of person, because you're putting out that message, I'm not lovable. So you attract people who treat you badly, etc., etc. Same with anxiety. It's there to protect you. Your anxiety is there to stop you from hitting danger. But what we have to do is have a look to what its role, function, purpose is. What's it trying to do? And then, you know, also when you go to sometimes, like, part of me feels like I should do that, but the other part of me doesn't. We talk about parts of us, don't we? Can you all relate to that? So when we're in the therapy session, we will go to the part of you that created that belief, and we go and ask it. We go and talk to it. And my God, it talks back. It comes back with stuff like this. It's nuts. When I try to explain it to people, they go, what are you on about? And afterwards I go, do you see what I mean? Because what happens is we go and talk to it, and your subconscious brain comes out with a reason. So it'll go, I'm the part of Julie that came up with the anxiety, and my role in Julie's life is 2, and my brain will just come up to protect her, or something like that. And I need to protect her because, and we do this a few times, and then we go, well, how old was you when you came into Julie's life? And it'll go, a number will just come up, and you're like, where'd that come from? And it might be, say, 3 years of age. Okay, so what was happening in Julie's life when she was 3 then? And then it will go back to another scene, and it'll be where this particular incident came about. It is nuts, I'll tell you. When I first started doing it, I was like, Nah. But I've seen it. I've had it done on me, and I've done it on so many other people. It's just amazing. And then once you've identified it, then we do techniques to eradicate it. And then we do visualizations of it leaving your body. And the young lady I was telling you about earlier, she was able to go, although she's only 8, they're quite good for kids with the imagination part. And I said, can you see it? She said, yeah. She said, what? I said, what does it look like? It's like a cloud, blue and white cloud. Well, how are you going to get rid of that then? She went, I'm going to send it to where the clouds live. So she sent it to where the clouds live. And I said, well, go back and can you see? No, it's gone now. And then I took her back to the things that she had described to me where she was having this reaction. And I said, how do you feel? Yeah, I feel fine. Because it's the feeling, it's about the feelings that you
different association. Yeah. Cool. Julie, I can't believe the hour is up already.
Yeah.
It's gone so quickly. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us. It's like I said, I know like conversations we've had internally, like I'm well into this stuff. Like 6 months ago, I wasn't, not at all. Right. And I've sort of, say 6 months ago, probably 12 months ago, I was like, maybe I should, like, this working for a lot of people, maybe I should look into it. And today I'm an absolute convert. And I know, like I said, Jane, Kim, Molly, I know you've all got varying thoughts on the topic based on some of the experiences you've been able to have. So I hope you guys have found this useful as well. And obviously other people watching and tuning in. But yeah, we need to wrap up. So Julie, where is the best place? You've mentioned your webinar a couple of times. I know you do that sort of every couple of weeks. Where are people going to be able to come and find you for that and sign up and tune in?
So on my social medias, I've got Julie Millieside. So, you'll probably put them out anyway, won't you? So I've got Instagram, I've got LinkedIn, and I've got Facebook. So on my Instagram, for example, you just go into my bio and my link tree on there, and you can register for the webinar, or you can follow me on all my social media. So I normally have that link tree on all my socials anyway, or you can go to my website, which is www.millieside.com, and you can access the social medias from there. Don't be put off by the fact it's quite very women in the prime of their lives, because it's, we're all trained to kind of niche, but you still get other clients coming in, which is amazing. So I'm going to start focusing on my becoming unstoppable, and that will be my mantra, I think. And I'm going to have my women in the prime of their lives, and then I might just create something that might be become unstoppable in your teens, or become an unstoppable family, or something like that. I don't know. So it's all but it's all about becoming unstoppable, right? So yeah. So if anyone's interested, if there's, there are quite a few testimonials on videos as well on my website of all the different ages. And yeah, lovely to hear from you all. And it's been so lovely being here. And thank you so much for allowing me to come. And I've probably spoken way too much, but I do apologize.
It's good. It's good. We've loved
there
it.
I'm confident you can't shut me up.
No, it's
I might have to reverse some of it.
That's it. We'll just delete it.
Delete
it. Cool. Okay, so yeah, there we are. The first live lunch of 2023 is done. We will be back next Thursday, 12 noon, as usual. Don't know if have we got a guest next week as well? No, just us next week. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we want to get more guests on.
Sorry, we do have something lined up for next week, but you don't know what that is yet, so tune in next week.
That's only a little bit worrying.
Let them don't have control, Christina. Let them run.
When I said I was going to let go, this year is about letting go. I got my only plan for this year is to finish off last year's plan. My last year's goals, last year's plan was solid. So that's my goal, is to complete and to let go, and let go and let God. That's my plan. Already, as soon as she said that, I was like,
did you notice when I said that she went, what? Yeah. The anxiety already?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm so I'm put my hand on my heart, breathe deep.
You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine.
So she's not a control freak in any shape or form.
I'm not a control freak. I just don't like it when other people have it. That's all. Amazing. Right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Julie, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next Thursday at 12 live on our Green Umbrella Facebook page, YouTube, and my LinkedIn. Little wave for the camera, for the screenshot. Amazing. See you all later. Bye for now.